Hello everyone, and in this very short video, I will teach you about the wiggle expression in After Effects. And you can apply this wiggle expression to create effects such as the anime eye shaking, eye vibration sequence, or you can apply it on camera shake. To be honest, it can be applied to a lot of things, and we explore a few of them in this particular exercise, very short exercise. To begin with, let me go to my Google Images and search up an appropriate anime screenshot, and I went with Yu-Gi-Oh because Yu-Gi-Oh is awesome. Alright, so I found this very interesting image, and I saved it and brought over to Photoshop, and I went ahead to separate the layers. Okay, so the first thing I did was to separate the eyes into its own individual layer, the other eye as well. I ended up not using this particular eye because it's a little bit cropped off and it looks a bit funny, so I ended up using this eye and flipped over, which I will go through later. And I also separated the glow layer, this white space over here, because by right it should be covering over the eyes. So like for example, if later on when I'm doing the glow, it should there should be a layer like this so that the glare is happening above the eyes. And finally, I've separated the hair because once again it's supposed to be in front of the eye, so if I were to do this sort of animation in After Effects, it will look a bit more realistic. It doesn't overlap if I were to do it without the hair layer. Okay, so once I have all these layers intact, I export them as PNG files, and I will bring them into After Effects. Right, so let me just bring these images in. Okay, and I will select the JPEG image, the one that has the base anime screenshot. Okay, and I just drag and drop this into this composition button. So let me just zoom in on this. This button over here. So just drag and drop it, and it will create a composition. In this composition, I don't need it to be too long, so I can go into composition settings and set it to be 5 seconds maybe. Alright, so I have this 5-second clip of this man over here, and let me just load in the other layers as well. So just dump everything in. Okay, it looks fine for now. Let me check the layer order. So this hair layer should be above everything, and like I mentioned, I'm not planning to use this right. Let me just set this to full. Okay, because it's looking a bit the edges here looks a bit bad, so I'm just going to delete this, and I'm going to duplicate this left eye layer. Alright, so Ctrl D to duplicate, and what I will do is I will flip this over. To do this easily, I will just go to my scale parameter and uncheck this chain over here. When this chain is activated, it basically means that when I'm scaling this, it's scaling on both axes, X and Y. Right, so I don't want to do that, so I will just uncheck this chain icon. Okay, and click on the X parameter and set it to -100. Okay, this will flip the eyes over, as you can see over here. Alright, so once I have set up my base image, I can begin to add in the wiggle effect. So to add in the wiggle effect, what we want to do is apply this wiggle on the position value. Basically, you want this to kind of vibrate, kind of jiggle, wiggle about its place like this. Okay, so since we are going to affect the position value, let us bring up the position parameter. And typically, to create a keyframe, you will need to click on this stopwatch icon over here. In this case, we are not going to create a standard keyframe. What we will do instead is we will create an expression. To activate that expression, you will need to hold down the Alt key, right? The Alt key, hold it down and click on the stopwatch over here. Okay, when you do so, you'll notice that the position values are highlighted in red, and you also see this kind of a programming language thingy popping out over here. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to replace this text with wiggle, W-I-G-G-L-E, and as you are typing, you can see that there's some helping phrases that will appear, some tooltips that will appear, and yes, we are going to use this wiggle expression. So type in wiggle, W-I-G-G-L-E, open parentheses, and what we need to type in next are two values. Alright, the first value is the frequency of this this movement. Alright, how many times per second do you want this to happen? Okay, so maybe perhaps right now we don't know what is the magic number, right? So I'll just key in 10. Alright, just trying out. The second value is the amplitude. Amplitude basically means how much you want this value to change. Alright, so again, right now we don't know what is the correct amount, so let me just type in a random amount, 20 for example. Once I'm done, I can just left click anywhere on the timeline to confirm this, and you can see that it's being registered over here. Okay, so to preview, very simple, I just tap on my spacebar, and you can see that right now the eye is moving. Right, it's kind of moving in a random direction, random motion, okay, which is what we want. However, the movement right now is not ideal because A, it's moving a little bit too infrequently. We want it to kind of vibrate, so we want it to move multiple times in a second, but we don't want the eye to actually move so much, right? As you can see over here, because I did such a quote-unquote fantastic job at slicing up the eyes, right? You can see that in certain frames, like for example, let me scroll over here, you can see that the eye white is kind of overlapping the shadow, the eye shadow over here. So that's not what we want. So let's go back here and just tweak the values, right? So like I mentioned, the first value is the frequency. So we want the eyes to move more frequently, so let's increase that amount from 10 to maybe 20. The second number is the amount in which the eye will be moving. So in this case, let's go with a smaller number because we don't want the eye to move so much, right? So perhaps let's try 10, for example. Okay, let's preview this again, and yes, I think this is roughly the amount that we are happy with. Okay, so let's go with this amount. Let's click on this again and do a Ctrl+C to copy and go to the other eye. Press P to bring up the position parameter. Hold down Alt, click on the stopwatch and do a paste on this value. Alright, and right now we have both eyes vibrating very nicely, right? So the next thing you may want to do is, we want this top part to kind of glow a little bit. Okay, so what we can do is we can insert a new layer and choose the solid layer type. Okay, so basically solid is adding a fill layer on top, right? So let's sample this yellow color, click OK, and the entire screen is filled with yellow. But we only want that small section over there. So let's press key to bring up the opacity and just lower it slightly so that we can see through underneath to see the original image. Next, I will use the pen tool and simply trace over this area. Okay, we don't have to be super precise about it. Okay, just get a rough idea will do. Okay, something like that. And right now you can see that this effect is very, the edges are very sharp, right? So what we can do is we can click over here to expand on the mask option, and we can actually increase the feather value, and as I'm increasing, you can see over here that it becomes a bit more faded. around the edges, right? So what we want to do next is we want to animate the pulsing of this glow, right? Similar to the movements of the pupil, the eye pupil, we want it to be a bit more random, right? We don't want to manually set the keyframes because it will be a bit more predictable. Okay, so what we want to do perhaps is we want to apply the wiggle expression here as well. Okay, so to apply it, once again, you have to hold on the Alt button and click on the stopwatch and type in wiggle. And this time around, maybe I want the pulsing to be a bit more gentle. It doesn't happen so frequently. So maybe let me try 5. And then, because we are dealing with opacity, so 100 is opaque, 0 is transparent. So in this case, perhaps we go with a value that is between 0 and 100, right? In this case, because we actually want it to increase and decrease, maybe 0 is not the correct number. Let's try, I don't know, 60. Okay, so let's see the effect. You can see over here, it's a bit subtle. You can see that it's pulsing. We can also enhance the effect by right clicking on it and going to blending mode and selecting screen. Okay, so it becomes a bit more glowy. We can also change the default value. Right now it's at 75. I can set it to something lower, like maybe 50. And let's see the effect. Okay, so it's a bit more obvious. Right, so we have something like this. The next thing that we might want to do is we might want to add in like some kind of a speed line effect. And to be honest, there is a way to generate speed lines within After Effects, and there are multiple YouTube tutorials that go through that process, so I will not cover it. In this case, I will just go the simple way and just go to YouTube and oops, not this window. Go to YouTube and search up anime speed lines, right? So I decided to go with this particular one. Okay, and using whatever tool that you know of to download the video. In fact, I think YouTube nowadays they allow you to download directly from the site. Okay, or you can use third-party apps, which I will not cover in this particular video, to download the video. And once you have that video, you can then bring it in to your After Effects and drop it in. So you have this kind of anime speed line effect. However, you notice that right now it's covering over that excellent animation that we just did. Okay, so since the base of this video is black, we can do a blending mode and change it to a screen, and this will actually key out the black. Okay, so the way that blending modes work in After Effects is similar to how it works in Photoshop. Okay, so now we have this fantastic effect. Just one last thing perhaps to add. Okay, so we want to add a bit of camera shake, okay, to just further enhance this scene. So to add in camera shake, very easy. I click on my composition over here and drag and drop it on the make comp button to create another composition. So right now there is a composition within a composition. Okay, next I want to enlarge this first composition just slightly. Okay, the reason why I need to enlarge this is because later on I will be applying a wiggle expression on this, so it will be kind of moving in place like this. If I were to let it remain in its original size, when it wiggles, you can see that the video kind of breaks. Like you can see the exterior, the black that's underneath, right? So let me just resize this a bit, scale it up a bit, and bring up the position parameter again. Hold down Alt, click on the stopwatch, type in wiggle, and let's just use the same setting as before, which is 2010. Okay, and then let's go. Okay, I think it looks pretty good. Of course, all these values, right, depending on the size of your video, depending on the size of your image, depending on what sort of effect you are creating, there is no hard and fast rule as to what number you need to key in over here. So it's more about your gut feel, like you try a combination, see if it works. If it doesn't work, then you gotta figure out what is the problem. Is it because it's not moving as frequently as it's supposed to? In that case, you want to change the front number. If it's not moving as much as it's supposed to, or it's moving too much, then you want to change the number at the back. Okay, beyond this, we can add in more additional effects, right? Like for example, if I want to add in a vignette, which is another thing that anime they love to do, you can go ahead and create a new layer, a new solid layer, and just set it to be black and click OK. And to create a vignette, very easy, just right click, click and hold over here in the rectangle tool to bring out the other shape options and select the ellipse tool. Alright, now to create a oval shape in the middle of the canvas, you simply need to just double click on this ellipse tool. Okay, double click and you create a oval in the middle of the canvas viewport. Okay, next we would want to check this inverted so that you have this vignette effect. And as with how we did the glow over here, you want to increase the feather so that it sort of fades out. It's not a clean cut over there, it fades out. And then we can actually once again use the wiggle expression on the mask expansion parameter over here. Right now, let me just try it. You can see that there's this sort of effect. So alt click on this, type in wiggle. Let's do the same setting, 2010. Okay, and see if it works. I think we can go a bit more. Let's try a flip of this, 1020. Okay, I think this is slightly better. So now it feels like that sort of anime flashback scene where the main character is having a traumatic experience. Oh, it was this guy did this to me, that sort of scenario. Okay, so to plus it even more, what we can do is we can apply a noise effect. So go under effect, noise and grain, and add noise. Okay, and we can ramp up the amount of noise over here. Right now it's set to be 0%, so let me just ramp it up. And right now the noise has some color. It depends whether you want that sort of effect. If you don't want color, you want it monochromatic, you can just uncheck this use color noise. Okay, so just uncheck this and you will have a monochromatic noise effect. And when you preview it, okay, let it run. Okay, yes, okay, so now you really have a anime lookalike scene that is just based on a still image, right? So hopefully this short video has shed some light on the wiggle expression and show you some of the examples, use cases where you can possibly consider using this expression for your animation. Alright, if you have any questions, you can drop me a message. If not, I'll see you in the next video.